Hello everyone and welcome back to the Siege Mailbox, a video series where you the viewer leave your questions in the comment section below and there's a chance I'll address them in the next video. This can be anything to do with a Rainbow Six Siege, and even if you think it's dumb, comment it anyway, it might actually make for a good discussion. Just want to say, if you enjoyed this video and you haven't already, hit the sub button since we're trying to hit 200k, drop a like on this video if you do enjoy it, maybe leave a comment since it does help with the algorithm, and let's get into this. So this first one asks, should Smoke get a loadout update? I feel like the FMG is never really viable. And this is something I've actually been thinking a lot about myself recently, because I have been playing Smoke with the FMG just to sort of change it up a bit. I'm getting a bit bored of always playing the shotgun SMG combo, and something I was saying on stream and talking to my friends about was I think it would be pretty cool if Smoke had a flipped loadout. Now let me explain. Currently, the main loadout you see on Smoke constantly is the shotgun as your primary and the SMG-11 as your secondary. This has been working well ever since he came out. It's iconic for Smoke. I don't think they should remove that. However, if you play the FMG-9, your secondary options are still either the SMG-11 or the pistol. Why would you go with the pistol when you can have the SMG-11? But then again, there's not really a point in bringing the FMG. If you're also bringing the SMG-11, you might as well bring the shotgun for that close range and rotates. So that then unintentionally makes the FMG quite useless on Smoke. So what I think could be quite cool is just give Smoke a secondary shotgun for people who want to play the role reverse. It won't affect his current loadout because the people who like to play Smoke with a primary shotgun and a secondary SMG can still do so. If they want to, they could play a primary shotgun and a secondary shotgun, but no one will do that because you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. But if he has the FMG as a primary, giving him a secondary shotgun will still allow you to set up sight as Smoke, still allow you to do a lot of shotgun related stuff, but the shotgun isn't the primary part of your loadout anymore. The main part is the FMG. So for those people who don't necessarily like playing a primary shotgun and don't like the SMG-11, if you wanted to, you could bring the FMG as a primary weapon, especially since it just got buffed for Nook. And then you would have the option of the ITA Small or the Super Shorty as your secondary. I think that would just make Smoke's loadout a bit more interesting, still allowing you to play an SMG and shotgun combo, but just with the other way around, and you can do it any way you want. We're not taking anything from this loadout, we're just adding to it. I don't know, I think this would be very interesting to come to Smoke. It wouldn't even necessarily be a buff or a nerf, you're just allowing people to have more options, especially since you can already do a double SMG combo if you want. Why not allow them just to have a secondary shotgun instead? I don't know, I think that'd be pretty good on Smoke. This next one is by TJK, and they ask, hey Kudos, do you think observation blockers should be deployed by throwing? The deployment animation could be similar to Alibi's Prisma. It will allow faster setups compared to the current version. And completely out the gate, yes, 100% I think observation blockers should be deployed by throwing them. I'm going to use some gameplay from Rainbow Six Extraction in the background as well, because they have something very similar to this. It does catch projectiles, but it gives you the idea of this throwable device, which then would deploy a wall that you can't see through. So just imagine it like that. Observation blockers are probably the most underutilized secondary gadget on the defensive team, and if you ask anyone, they probably will tell you that observation blockers are the worst. And well, maybe I would put them at the bottom of my list. I wouldn't say they're the worst. Like, even if I prefer other secondary gadgets, it doesn't necessarily mean that the observation blockers are bad. They're actually very useful, especially if you're holding down certain areas, and a lot can be done with observation blockers. But something I have personally been finding myself doing recently is the operators, which I think are really good with observation blockers, like Maestro for example. I just can't be bothered playing them, which I know sounds lazy on my behalf, but every time I want to play Maestro, the fact I have to place 3 Evil Eyes, 3 observation blockers, as well as reinforcing walls, and I'm somewhat expected to make rotates and line of sights using my Bailiff secondary, it just becomes quite tedious and boring. And although I am partially taking blame here because I'm sort of being an L player by not wanting to do this every single time. But it gets to the point that, like, by the time I'm finished setting up, we're already 20 seconds into the action phase, and, you know, it just gets so tedious, and a lot of this would be fixed if observation blockers were just throwable. Plus, also being able to throw them down mid-gunfight could add to just a lot of really interesting things. Let's say you place 2 observation blockers in sight during the prep phase, and then during the action phase, you keep one in your pocket. If you're getting droned out and everything, you throw one down in the middle of an engagement, blocks off those drones coming for you, and a lot of cool things could come from that. Or let's say you're in the dying moments of the round, you still have one in your pocket, Dokkaebi hacks the cameras of the defenders, there's a bulletproof camera in sight or an evil eye in sight which can now see you. Well, you throw down that observation blocker in front of it, and for those of you who don't know, your teammates will still be able to see through that observation blocker. However, the enemies, so the attackers who are looking through the hacked camera via Dokkaebi, won't be able to see through the observation blockers. So you're sort of be countering Dokkaebi hacks, which I think would be a beneficial thing to make observation blockers more focused on countering Dokkaebi in the later of the rounds, because although Dokkaebi did get a little nerf recently, she's still, if not the best attacker in the game, probably alongside Buck. So it could be used in really interesting situations like that. They have a Dokkaebi on the board, keep 1 or 2 observation blockers in your pocket, so when they go for those hacked cameras, throw them down, your teammates will still be able to see through, and you have just countered Dokkaebi's hacked camera. I actually want to say something as well. I made a tweet as I'm recording this talking about I think observation blockers should be throwable, and I gave my reason why, because I've honestly been thinking about this personally myself for a while, and this mailbox question gave me an excuse to talk about it. And Joshua Mills, the game director of Rainbow Six Siege, replied to this tweet with just a little gif of Billy Butcher saying noted. So it looks like the idea of a throwable observation blocker is at least something that they're going to think about and consider, because I definitely think it takes what we currently have and improves upon it tenfold. The same way that bulletproof cameras were not at their full potential when they first came out and needed some tweaking, I think the observation blockers need that as well. Right, let's keep on the topic of secondary gadgets for this one, and let's go to this one by Soda Mizu. And they say, we need a decoy grenade gadget that makes sounds, cause Siege is all about sound. Now, I've always seen comments like this, and I've seen people asking for so many years that a decoy grenade that makes sound would be a really interesting thing. And a lot of the things that come up in this discussion is the reliability of sound in Siege itself, like gameplay wise and mechanically, is sound up to par for us to implement a gadget that could be a sound decoy grenade. And I think, at least this point in time, yeah, I think the sound does currently work good enough. And I'm not saying like it's terrible, I think the sound in this game is great. You will have some occasions where you feel like maybe you didn't hear someone, but a lot of the time it's actually been masked by another noise, and I'll do it myself. I'm sort of coping that I've been shot from behind or someone's planted a diffuser and I didn't hear, when actually that sound has been masked by another thing. I'm going to show you a clip I got last week when I was playing Outback where I managed to just wallbang someone entirely off sound and map knowledge.
I have one more Goyo canister. Do you guys want it anywhere? Yeah, no, maybe so.
Oh my god, I'm cheating. I am actually cheating, chat. Holy shit. So this was an example of sound being that good that I was able to hear someone outside the downstairs garage door. It sounded like he vaulted, so me knowing Outback, I know that a common route there is vaulting onto the truck to then go up by the window. So I started to pre-fire the window a few seconds later, because that was when roughly he would stand up, and of course I got the wallbang headshot. So I think a decoy grenade to sort of mask your sound would be quite useful. But the real question is, what side should this go to? Should it go for attack or defense? Actually drop a comment and let me know which one you think about it, because if you think on the attacker side, you've already got some operators who can mask sounds such as Gridlock and Ram especially. Defense doesn't really have that, but then again, a decoy grenade for the attack would make more sense because they are attacking the building, so masking the sounds of what they're doing, such as a plant or a breach or a hard breach or anything, would make a lot of sense. I think it could be quite cool if it sort of makes like a firecracker noise, so like repeated banging, enough for you to distinguish it from gunshots, so you can be like, okay, that is a decoy grenade, and then it can allude you to the fact that they might be trying to do something. But you could pair this with some other stuff, so let's say you're going for a plant, you throw down a decoy grenade, and you start flashing the room as well. You're gonna have flashbangs going off, you're gonna have decoy grenades going off, and that is a great time for the attack to go down for a plant. So the issue of decoy grenades being added to the game isn't actually if they fit in the game. They would be perfect for the game. Sound is a massive aspect of Siege. I think the problem does lie in is just how reliable that would be, but I definitely think it would be a great idea, and if we are to get any more secondary gadgets soon, I definitely think this should be one, preferably for the attacking team. This next one is by Kimmy, and they ask, what do you think about all attackers carrying the Defuser? The same rule. One has the active diffuser. If a different attacker wants it, an attacker already in sight, you hit a button, request, and then the one with the active diffuser gives you the diffuse activation. If the attacker with the active diffuser dies, all the remaining attackers get a mini notification on the bottom of the screen of who wants to have this activated for them, and so on. Defenders guarding the diffuser is super fun, but makes it 2 times harder for attackers to win the round. I get what you're saying, it's an interesting concept, but I don't think the fact that only one attacker having the diffuser is an issue. If anything, it makes attack more important, and it makes the operator having that diffuser more important. Now, if you're coming from like a solo queue aspect where the guy on your team takes a diffuser and just runs into sight, or goes in a roam clear by himself and just loses it, and then the defenders guard it, yeah, I 100% agree. I can see how that can be annoying, and you kind of want it to be like, you know, I want the diffuser as well. I think it should be just whoever wants it. I get that, but you also have to understand that the person with the diffuser should be a choice of the attacking team, and it should be planned by the attacking team. If the attacking team have site control and the person with the diffuser isn't there, that's the attacker's fault. If the guy with the diffuser dies by himself and defenders get diffuser control, that's the attacker's fault. Attackers should be punished for not focusing their attack around the diffuser. You should be giving it to the appropriate people. You should be beside the people if you want to switch it. So although I agree that your idea is fun and is quite interesting, I don't think it should ever come to the game. I think the diffuser should be a one-time thing that only one person has. If they drop it, that's defense's job to then guard that. It's an important aspect of the round. Attack should be punished for not treating the diffuser as valuable as it is, because then if anyone has the chance to plant in sight, it opens up a whole can of worms, and it removes the importance of the diffuser itself. So like I was saying, I can imagine if you are a solo queue player, this would be a fun idea, but in the grand scheme of Siege, this should never happen. This next one is by Sergeant Ryan's Privates. And they say, do you think year 10 will be a huge year for Siege, or do you think it's just going to be like any other year? I'd like to see pre-reworked maps and night maps, honestly. I don't think we'll see pre-reworked maps. I'm doubtful we'll see night maps, but I do think year 10 will be a big year for Siege. A big thing this year, I think that sort of indicates in next year is going to be quite huge, is the fact that we don't have any new maps this year. Doesn't really take a genius to work out that they've not fired their whole map team. Their map team are still working on something. So if we're not getting any new maps this year, I can imagine that they're doing a lot for next year. I definitely do think they are going to take year 10 very seriously. I think the 10th anniversary is definitely going to be something they are going to celebrate and hopefully get a lot of stuff for, especially after Operation New Blood's feedback. Ubisoft did come out and say that we've heard you, we understand that New Blood wasn't enough, and we're going to make sure going forward that we don't make those mistakes again. So going into their 10th anniversary year with this feedback, which they have accepted and everything, I think year 10 is definitely going to be very promising. I definitely think we'll get new maps. Whether we get 4 operators or, you know, 2 reworked and 2 new, that's yet to be seen. I think like the reworks are fine. I mean, we're yet to see Blackbeards. I understand the criticism with Striker and Sentry, but at the end of the day, I still do think they are quite cool how they've ended up, and they are very useful. And I guess what I'll say is I wish we got more New Blood, but I'm happy with how Striker and Sentry ended up. But I also think we should have got more in that season, and I think we'll really get our good judgment of these big rework seasons better with Blackbeard than we in season 4 than we did with New Blood with the recruits. So I definitely think next season will sort of show us if these rework only seasons are actually worth it. And if they're not, we'll give the feedback and hopefully they'll listen like they did with New Blood. Because I don't think the issue with New Blood was it was a rework season. I think it was because their gadgets were so close to what they used to be before that the only thing it kind of seemed like they did was update them, like, you know, monetizable skins, if we're being honest. But I like how Striker and Sentry are. I like that you can play them in ranked, and I think Striker is very good. Sentry not as much, but I do love Striker. So yeah, I think we're going to have to wait until Season 4 to see if rework seasons are actually viable for the game going forward. We are definitely going to get new operators. They have said that because they can focus so much on operators now, they have like made it that they are going to get new weapons. So I don't know if you guys actually knew this. They did say this publicly, that new operators will be getting brand new weapons every time there's a brand new one released, at least for the foreseeable future. That is why Deimos had the Vendetta. That is why Scopus has the PCX, and whatever new operators we get next year are also going to get brand new weapons. So as long as we can keep up a consistent level of new operators, new weapons, new maps, and if these rework seasons are actually viable, then I think year 10 is going to be perfectly good, and I think they probably have more under their sleeve. But yeah, so yet to be seen. We'll learn it more at the Boston Invitational in February of 2025. So quite interesting and exciting stuff. Right, this one's by Ethan Wood, and it says, I think Finka and Clash are deserving of a buff or a rework. What are your thoughts? So I'm gonna just outright say I don't think Finka should be involved in this question, so I'm just gonna ignore it. I think Finka's fine. I don't think they should touch her. She's already been through the ringer of too strong, too weak, too strong, too weak. She's in a great spot now. Forget Finka. I'm gonna focus on Clash because I think she needs a little change to her gadget. I don't think Clash is OP. Any good player can counter Clash. There's just one thing which is really annoying about her mechanics, which I just want them to tidy up. And that is when she's done zapping someone, I think the effect on that enemy should just end the moment she's finished. Because right now there's a little few seconds where, although Clash has finished zapping, the enemy still has the effect applied to it, and it just leads to this sort of annoying situation where she then has enough time to charge up again and the enemy is still recovering from this electricity slow walk. I just think it should be, once Clash is done zapping you, you instantly lose that effect. That's all I think they need to do for Clash. I don't think she needs a buff. I don't think she needs a nerf. I just think they need to clean up her mechanics a little bit because it still feels like she's a bit outdated, shall I say. I think the mechanics are not as streamlined as they should be. A lot of the other parts of this game have had updated mechanics to make them more streamlined. I just think this little interaction with Clash needs to be changed. Is it a nerf? Yes, I guess, but I'm not massively calling for a Clash nerf. I just think it's going to remove a bit of frustration because right now, I just think the system is poorly designed. Just remove that little delay. The moment she stops zapping you, you no longer have the electricity effect. You can start running at her again. That's it. And so everyone, that is going to do it for this episode of the Siege Mailbox. If you did enjoy this video, then be sure to drop it a like and drop your questions in the comment section below. Even if you've asked them before and I haven't covered them, do them. I have a lot of comments to sort through, and people ask me stuff on like Twitter and TikTok as well. So there's a chance that I'm going to miss them, and who knows, maybe I'll turn it into a podcast series one day so we can get through a lot more questions. But yeah, be sure to let me know your thoughts. Drop a like on this video if you did enjoy. Subscribe if you're new. Just catch you all later. I love you all. Stay safe. Peace.